Hey guys, welcome back to Old Guy Talks Money. Today I want to talk about credit cards and why it's so important that you make more than the minimum payment and if possible, pay off the balance every month. And this really comes from a conversation that my wife had with somebody that she met at the store. I really don't know the context, but the gist of it was she said, "Old guy," that's what she calls me. He's like, "Old guy, I don't think people understand how credit cards work." I was talking to this person and they were talking about making minimum payments. I just don't think they get it. She said, you take these things for granted. You've been in finance, you're looking for content. Maybe you just need to do something basic and explain this because there's people out there that really just don't get it. So I thought about it for a while. I thought, surely everybody knows how credit cards work. Surely they knows why it's important to pay more than the minimum balance, how long it can take to pay off a balance if you're just making the minimum payments, those kind of things. And the more I thought about it, I thought, maybe she's right. Maybe there are people that just don't think about it that way. I know for a fact there are people out there that look at purchases as a monthly payment, a cash flow pay, not what the total is. It's really big in the car world where can I afford the car? It's not can I afford the total amount. Is can I afford the payment? So many times people will go into a car dealership and they'll say stuff like, "This is what I want my payment to be," and then back into the car. So I thought about it and I thought, what would I do to illustrate this to somebody, to show them the impact of just paying the minimum payment or what could happen if you paid more. And as I started working on this, and I'll show you in a minute, I put it in an Excel, built a very simple model. It was staggering to me how long it could take to pay off something just making the monthly payments, the minimum monthly payments. So thank y'all for coming. If you've enjoyed the content, hit that like and subscribe. It will help me grow the channel and hopefully help more people as we kind of work through this journey together. So let's jump into it. In preparation for this conversation, this analysis, whatever you want to call it, I did some Googling. And first thing I wanted to know is, what's the average debt per person? What's the average credit card debt? And I will tell you there's a lot of numbers out there. The one I chose to use was a 2024 first quarter TransUnion number, $6,218. I will tell you that the Federal Reserve of New York, I think they had a $7,000 number. There were some other numbers out there. I elected to go with what I considered, the best of those. If nothing else, it was a conservative number. The other thing I did was I said, okay, now that I know what the average balance is, what is the average credit interest rate on that credit? Okay. So 22.63 was the average. I will tell you that new card offers based on the search I did were over 24%. Anecdotally, my American Express card is 18.24%. So there's a wide range. The gist of this is none of these are going to be the right number. Everyone's going to vary depending on your situation. I get that, but I'm trying to give you all a frame of reference and a flavor of how this is impactful. Last thing I did was Googled what the minimum payment amount is. I can tell you the average runs from 2 to 4%. I did analysis on both of them. Okay. Because the way the math works, I didn't feel like it was appropriate not to have a minimum at some point in the conversation. So I went and did some research. My Amex card has a minimum $40 payment. So if the calculated amount at 2%, that's what my Amex is, the minimum is 2%, is below $40, they charge me $40 or whatever the balance is if it's below that. Okay. So I tried to work that in. So I built this simple model in Excel, and let's look at it now. All right. So minimum payment in this analysis was 2%. Okay. That's the minimum payment, 2% of the outstanding balance. Interest rate was the average that I Googled, 22.63%. And the beginning balance was $6,218. Again, that's what I got from TransUnion. Okay. So the way this works is you calculate the monthly payment of 2%. That's the 124.36 in month one. You calculate the interest payment. It's really 1/12 of 22.63. You back into how much you reduce your balance by. That's the principal amount, and that gives you your ending balance, and it rolls forward. Okay. So I did this. I put this in, started copying it down, and I'll show you this. And it went like this. It went like this. It went like this. It went like this. I'm like, oh my God. Because you see out there the month number. Now we're all the way up to month 77, 86, 95. And I was like, holy cow, how far am I going to have to copy this down? And I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going, and going, and going, and going, and going. And I hope at this point in time, y'all are starting to see what I'm trying to illustrate. This is mind blowing. It keeps going and going and going and going and going and going. You probably hear the little mouse wheel. I'm wearing it out over here, just scrolling down and scrolling down and scrolling down and scrolling down and down and down and down. And there we are. So the average credit card balance, $6,218 at an average interest rate of 22.63 with a minimum payment of 2%. And that's all you're making. The understanding that once it flips over, that the minimum is less than 40, you go to a monthly of 40. We'll take 1,147 months. It's 95 and a half years. That is mind-boggling. Now, when I did this first time, I was like, there's no way that can be right. That is absolutely not right. I have put something in here wrong. So I went to ChatGPT, and I like ChatGPT because it's fun. I like this idea of AI and what it can do. And I was like, hey, ask the question. Hey, calculate this. The interesting thing is it actually came up with like 1,300 and something months. And I was like, oh, something's wrong. It's not what I had. So I went back and forth with it, asked it questions, and finally got it to admit it was just wrong. It had made some error in the calculation loop. Finally, it came back, and they actually said 1,148 months. So I was like, okay, this is it. It's pretty accurate. Stop right there. I like ChatGPT. It's fun to play with. Trust and verify. Don't take everything they say at face value, because it is learning. A little scary, but it is learning. So, again, trust and verify. So I want you to look at what this is showing. 95 and a half years. And it's 1,147 divided by 12. Over that time, you will have paid monthly payments totaling $80,000. And the interest component of that is $73,800 and some change. You will have paid back your monthly principal plus 11 times your monthly principal. Think about that. At $6,218, you paid that back plus another $73,804.28. That's 1,186.95% more than what your original balance was. Now, I'm not saying that's the interest rate. What I was trying to do was calculate, how much more are you paying than your principal. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's staggering how much that is. If nothing else, y'all walk away from this and go, when y'all are putting something on a credit card and you're not necessarily thinking about the balance that you're charging, but how much the payment's going to be, I want you to ask yourself this. Okay, I'm going to go on vacation and it's going to cost me $6,000. Would you still be willing to charge that if you knew it cost you an extra $73,000 over the life of that balance? I hope not. All right, so that's good. That's fine. But let's be fair, because the average minimum payments range from 2 to 4%. So let's look at a 4% analysis. So here's 4%. Same interest rate, same beginning balance. Let's scroll down to the bottom. You can see that at 4%, because obviously more is going to principal, that you can pay this off in 10 years. You're going to have paid $11,237. total interest is going to be $5,000, or roughly 80% of what your principal balance was. So essentially, for every dollar that you borrowed, you're paying 1.8 back. Okay, it's mind blowing. From there, I went and I said, okay, what then would happen if we accelerated the payments? We saw what 2 and 4 looked like, one being like 95 years. One, you see the benefit of going 4%, how much that improved your payoff, rate, the speed of which you paid it off. So let's look at another example. This is the same one that we saw earlier. It's 2%, same rate, same balance, but we pay an additional $50 per month. Let's scroll to the bottom. Look at this. It cuts that 95 years down to roughly 9, so 8.92 years. Okay. Now you're still paying a good bit in interest, about 105.95%. You borrowed this and you're paying back that plus $6,587.96. But it shows the power of making an additional payment, how fast that accelerates it. 95 and a half years is a long time. All right, and let's look at the last one. This is the 4%. That was the minimum requirement. If your credit card had a 4% requirement, paying an additional $50. The original, I think, was 10 years. This cuts it in half, 4.75. And you can see how it impacts significantly your monthly interest total to roughly 45.5% of what you had outstanding, okay, at 2008, 32.96. We get hung up on cash flow. Can I afford a payment? And not thinking big picture about how these payments add up. And I think if a lot of people would step back and look at it this way, as opposed to, well, it's only $100 a month, it's only $50 a month, that their lives would be a little bit easier. I think it's only fair for me to say, though, that I get it. Life's hard. Things happen. And, we don't live in a magic world where it's all rainbows and sunshine every day. I get that. I completely understand. My goal is to try to educate people that haven't thought about it this way, trying to start them on a journey of, hey, this is really a lot of money I'm paying here. Maybe I can do something, get out of debt, and make my life better. So, I've talked a lot about kind of the numbers and the impacts of making additional payments and how long it can take to pay off something if you don't do that, if you just make the minimums. Let's look then at what I think the steps you ought to go through if you find yourself in credit card debt. So, if you find yourself in credit card debt, you want to improve your financial life, you want to improve your cash flow, you just want things to be easier. What do? Well, here's the first thing. Stop digging. If you looked at my thumbnail, it's the first step. You got to stop making it worse. You saw the numbers. You saw how long it would take to pay back $6,000 with minimum payments. You got to stop digging. Okay? Stop making it worse. First thing I would do, I'd lock up those credit cards. Now, I don't like the idea of cutting them up. If you're one of those people that needs to do that, you do you. That's fine. I would lock them up someplace where they're not available. I wouldn't carry them. I keep them only for an emergency. I mean an emergency. Guys, this is a little old guy love. Needing to go to Uber Eats, it's not an emergency. You lock those things up. Stick them in a thing of water and freeze them. Put them in your freezer. Keep them where you've got them if you need them, but restrict your access. You've got to stop digging. That's the first step. Second step, you've got to summarize, list your debts. At a minimum, you need to know what the balance is. You need to know what the interest rate is. You need to know what that minimum payment is. It's going to be scary. If you're one of those people that's in credit card debt and want to get out, the first step is going to be that mindset of, I really I don't know that I want to know. And I'm telling you, it's much better to at least know where you are and know where you can go as opposed to sticking your head in the sand. I guarantee you that. Next step, you need to create a plan. Now, I will tell you that these are not, I didn't come up with these ideas. These are things that have been around and I have no idea. I know Dave Ramsey is big on these. If you Googled how to pay off credit card debt, I guarantee you it would tell you these same two methods. First is a snowball. And that's where you pay off your lowest balance first and then you move to the next and you repeat it. Okay. Second is the avalanche method. This is where you pay off the highest interest rate and then move to the next highest interest rate and you repeat it. Okay. Me personally, I like the snowball method. I know the math would probably bear itself out that you will probably save interest income if you use the avalanche method and attack the highest interest rate. I know that. Problem is, this is such a challenge mentally to start tackling these things that the benefit you get, that mental relief of, okay, I've paid that off and now I'm going to the next, I think is greater than the savings you're going to have. You saw the numbers. I don't know attacking the highest interest rate first is going to save you significant enough that it's going to overcome that mental benefit, that mental relief of having one debt paid off and going to the next. Again, you guys do you. These are the two tried and true standard methods. I will say this, I want to add an aside here. I know a lot of people are going to be out there and say, well, I'd like to do a debt consolidation loan. I'd like to roll some high interest rate debt together and pay that off. And I get it. It streamlines the process because you're paying one debt instead of many. You're reducing the debt if your credit's where you can do that, the interest rate. I will tell you, be careful. I have heard way too many horror stories where people have done debt consolidations, paid off credit cards, and then went out and charged on the credit cards again, and they dug that hole even deeper. I'm not saying it won't work. I'm saying you do you and think about it and understand that there is risk that you consolidate that debt, and then all of a sudden your credit lines are free, and guess what? Uber Eats sounds really good. So just keep that in the back of your mind. All right. Track your progress and celebrate your successes. I'm big on this. If you go out there and Google on, there's a dog barking out there. If you go out there and Google, you'll find free resources, debt logs, whatever, Google Sheets that you can download for free. I know they're out there where you can track this. It's so important that you look at this monthly. It will be hard at first because it seems so daunting. As you make progress and you scratch these off or highlight them or ever how you do it. I've seen them where they do it by month and colors, and it's just so beneficial to know where you are at any given time. Other thing I will say is this, guys, you got to give yourself some grace. Nobody is going to be perfect. One of my big mantras is always progress, not perfection. And there are going to be instances where you slip and use that credit card. You cannot let it break you. You've got to go, okay, and a slip, back on the horse and start digging at the debt. Told you not to dig in, but you understand what I'm saying. All right, what's last? All right, here's the last one. Responsible credit card use. Pay that balance off monthly. Guys, that's hard. Okay, think about all the steps we went through. List your debts, create the plan, track your progress, work it. You finally get out of debt. Guys, you got to stay out of debt. So you got to be responsible for those credit cards, and you need to pay off that balance monthly. Now, I'll tell you a pro level tip. I actually pay my credit cards off on a weekly basis. I don't charge anything that I don't have the money for, or I know that I'm going to take out our savings if I have like a big expenditures. Credit card companies do not care. I've been doing this for years, and every week I just go through out of my budget and say, this is what I had for groceries or gas or whatever those things are, and then I just pay them off. The side benefit to doing this is it keeps your credit utilization low. And if you're one of those people that is trying to improve your credit rating, this will absolutely help. So again, think about that you don't have to wait for that statement to come in. Log in, pay off those charges that you most recently made. Going down the road, it will benefit you, I promise. So I hope you guys found this helpful. I know I run the risk of you guys out there going, oh, God, you just don't get it. You're not where we are. You're almost 60 years old. You're nearing retirement. Your kids are grown. You're just not going through what we're going through. I get it. I really do, guys. Long time ago, I went through a divorce and had to start over. And I know what it's like to try to stop digging that hole and then start getting out of it. The thing that I need y'all to know is you can do it. The levers are there. The push-pull is there. Okay? Organize your debts, figure out where you are, and then see what you can do about it. There's really two main levers. You can either earn more money or cut your expenses. Both of those will allow you to put more toward that debt. And once you get debt free, it's just so freeing, and your life will be so much better. The takeaway is y'all can do it. I guarantee it. You just got to stop digging. I hope y'all enjoyed the content today. If you did, hit the like and subscribe. Sorry for the dog barking. You know what? We're dog folks. This is how it's going to be. So I will see y'all at Old Guy Talks Money in the future.